Hi, this is Lisa Wren. Thanks for joining me on the webinar. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you today and talking about the vital missing link in your weight loss plans. I speak to so many people who are really currently very unhappy with how they are managing their diet, because it seems to be going from one diet to the next. They get a little bit of success and then a whole lot of failure. So in this webinar, what we're talking about is how we can create a different way of doing, I guess, the same thing, which is losing weight. So if you get this right, you are guaranteed to keep your weight off. There's going to be no more yo-yo dieting, because surely you must be sick of going backwards and forwards between success and then weight regain. So if this does sound like you, then this webinar is going to give you some new things to think about and start to shift your direction, and therefore get you some different results, which is what I really want for you. Because sometimes it's like an uphill battle. The idea of weight loss is this mammoth task that we know from past experience. Sometimes it works and a lot of times it doesn't. So we don't actually want to go into battle again too often, because it really just, we know what's at the end of it. We know there's a hard road, a hard battle, and we're pretty well guaranteed the similar results because we're doing things the same way. A bit too much like David and Goliath, and yet we sign up again and again using the same kind of tools and techniques. So it's no wonder that you don't really want to start another diet, even though you want to keep weight loss on the agenda. It seems like the only way, I guess, but you know, let me tell you, there is another way, and I'm really going to delight in sharing that with you. So there's not going to be this insurmountable battle any longer. And I wonder, how much have you actually spent on diet and weight loss products over the years? It's certainly a sign of your desire or desperation, but like anything worth achieving, it's not the product that actually has to do the work. It's, unfortunately, it actually comes down to what you're doing. And these diet products don't make you change anything about what you're doing. So this is a program for people who understand that if they think back on all the money that you've spent and the time you've taken with actually no lasting results, and you actually are looking for another way of doing things, not just another product. Because the weight loss industry in Australia alone is a $20 to $40 billion industry, where the diet is attempting on average to lose weight about 4 to 5 times each year. And 85% of the spenders on these diet products are actually women. So, you know, if these things worked, we wouldn't actually be seeing an increase in the rates of people who are overweight and obese as we actually are. So I would really ask you to sort of rethink, hang on, even though it sounds like a perfect silver bullet, it sounds like the too good to be true answer. You know what, it probably is. Use your past experience and just kind of think, hang on, am I really wanting to waste a bit more money on these guaranteed easy solutions? Because really we know that dieting's more about hard yards. So I guess if we think about what actually is the impact of being overweight, I mean, has it affected the quality of your relationships? A lot of people say to me that in actual fact they don't want their partner to see them naked, let alone looking at themselves in the mirror. So this is going to have an impact. I mean, it does definitely impact on your self-confidence. So if you're not feeling confident in yourself, is there other things that's been compromised in your life? I mean, potentially, are there promotions at work that you haven't put yourself up for because you've got an issue with self-confidence about how you're feeling and looking and how your ability to make things work? You know, is there travel desires that you have, but you say, I really can't go yet because I don't feel great, or I can't move about as much as I want to. A number of my clients are limiting themselves in their ability to travel because they're not confident in their ability to move, nor in their ability to deal with things at their current weight, nor are they happy with themselves. So your ability to like yourself, you know, that's a huge impact, because we are supposed to be our number one fans. And if that is not happening, then that has a big impact in a whole lot of your life. And ultimately, it affects your happiness. A number of people say to me, you know, I'm happy when I'm doing the right thing. And most of the time I'm just frustrated and unhappy. So it has a huge impact. Weight can be a huge impact on how you actually go about your life every day and how happy you actually are. So it's a real battle. You know, you avoid looking in the mirror, or you say degrading things to yourself. You start a diet only to fail, and then you blame yourself again. And so around and around it goes. It's an endless and quite unhappy cycle. And it's actually been explained by Dr. Rick Kausman, who's put together this diagram which outlines the vicious cycle of dieting. So it starts at, you know, you're thinking that you're fat and ugly, and so you decide, right, I'm going on a diet. So you decide to restrict your food. Well, this, of course, is deprivation. And nobody likes to feel deprived for very long. So shortly after feeling deprived, we get rebellion. So there's a sense of, I don't need to be doing this to myself. So we overeat or we binge. And this, of course, leads us to feel guilty. And then when you're feeling guilty and down, you eat for comfort. And then we're right back where we started again about, I'm thinking I'm not good enough, I'm fat, this is not working for me. And yet, time and again, we go around and around, and we expect that we're going to get a different outcome by doing the same thing all the time. So I guess what I would really like to show you is a new way. It gives about choice and freedom, and this brings control. Because ultimately what we all want is to be able to have control over what we're eating. And yet what we think about diets, it's not choice and it's not freedom, and gee, I haven't got enough self-control. So potentially I want to present to you that the way you're going about things is quite flawed. If we think about giving ourselves choice, we create a freedom, and when we've got that, then we can have control. So I'll explain to you what we're talking about throughout the webinar when we're talking about this, because it might seem like words that are so far from dieting. And I guess that's the fact that they are so far from dieting, and that's what makes them exciting and new and different and sustainable. So what led me to this webinar? Well, I finished school in about 1985. It seems like quite a long time ago now. In fact, my 30-year reunion's coming up. I started out my life as a phys ed and maths teacher, so I've always had an interest in health and education and I guess helping people, to teaching people. And whilst I was teaching, I was studying to become a dietitian. And in my early days as a dietitian, I started giving people advice and telling them what to do. You know, this is what you should do. In essence, not really putting them on the diet, but the same kind of thing. You know, you need to exercise more, so go and do that. You need to eat less of this and more of that, so off you go and do that. And people would come back and I'd say, so how did you go? And they'd go, oh, not so well. I haven't done that great. So I learned quite early on that, you know, giving advice is not really the way to help people change and make sustainable change. It's really a whole lot more about helping people to decide what they want to do. And so I went along and did some more studying and learning about what impacts people and their ability to change. You know, how is the best way to help people going forward? How is the best way to motivate people? So I did a lot more studying, and then that led me to write my first book, which is Body Warfare, and seen in the picture there, The Secret to Permanent Weight Loss. And it is all about talking about how do we create this freedom around food, and how do we get motivation, and why do we want to do this anyway. So it's really been quite an interesting journey for me, and I think that we need to be thinking about that it's much bigger than weight loss. It's not just about weight loss. It's actually about getting what you want in life. So battling your demons and coming out winning. So when you think about dieting, I wonder what words that actually come to mind. And you can certainly add some as I'm talking too. So how about frustration? That's certainly a big part of weight loss. And guilt. So a lot of people tell me about the guilt that they feel all the time. There's deprivation and sacrifice that's certainly present in weight loss and dieting, and certainly present in Rick Kausman's vicious cycle of dieting. We've got some temporary happiness, because of course when you're doing the right thing, you're feeling great. It's all good. And then you get some temporary insanity, where it's like, oh my God, what have I done? I really want to lose weight, and yet I keep on messing up. What is happening here? And then we feel a bit confident. So it's like, yes, I'm doing this. I'm really making this happen. So there's a whole lot of conflicting stuff going on here. When we have our success, it's great. And then we have this, we sort of stuff up and fail. And then we have this, up and down. So we've got the confidence and then a lack of confidence. So we're going round and round in circles. We have weight loss and then weight regain. So dieting has a whole lot of conflicting emotions. And it's actually those positive emotions of some temporary happiness and some temporary confidence that keep us going back to that same approach all the time. But I would ask you to remember the prevailing emotions when we think about dieting are guilt and frustration and deprivation and insanity and the yo-yo effect that we get out of it. So if you are getting quite sick of this kind of cycling, then you must be looking for another way, because the diet cycle says that we are just going to get the same result over and over again. So I'd encourage you to keep listening, because we're going to be talking about some new ideas that are going to help you break through this cycle. Because there's a whole lot of flawed logic around dieting. We ban foods and go, okay, I just can't eat my favourite food. I just cannot eat chocolate anymore. And it's like, wow, really? You can't eat chocolate ever again, and yet you love it? I mean, really, that is a classic case of deprivation. There is no thought to the future there. In a diet way of thinking, there is no future planning. So, of course, it's not a sustainable position. We expect perfection. You know what? There is no perfect. And we know that. And I'm sure if you've got kids that you would say to them, nobody's perfect. And yet here, when we're thinking about dieting and weight loss, this is exactly what we expect. We expect that we'll be very happy not to ever eat our favourite foods again, and that if we do, that is it. We've broken it, we've blown it, and that we're no good. This is flawed logic. People want a meal plan. So many times I've been asked for a meal plan. Tell me what to eat. But really, what is the difference to a diet? It's somebody else doing the thinking for you. So I guess it's easy, but I've got to remind you, you know what you like to eat. You know what you like to cook. You pretty well know what's healthy, and you know what works with your family. And yet you want somebody else to take responsibility for that. So I think perhaps that's more about responsibility and planning rather than, wanting to be told what to eat. Because if someone tells you what to do, you're pretty well guaranteed your automatic reaction is to go, no, I'm not going to do that. Eventually you're going to rebel. And everyone loves recipes, which is fantastic. But the ones that I just go, wow, is that really what you want? Is people are looking for quick, easy recipes. But forgetting that actually one of the major reasons that you don't cook or plan meals well or get to think about your health is time. I mean, we're all busy. So tell me, how many times when you were busy and really needing a quick meal did you run and look for a recipe? So again, let's think about the way we've been doing things is pretty well based on flawed logic, and we kind of need to rethink and relearn a different way, because we keep doing the same thing over and over again and we get the same results. So I guess to start thinking that maybe what you are believing that you need to do perhaps could be based on a bit of flawed logic. So if we're looking at the first new step in this project, We've got to identify the barriers and the roadblocks that stop you from achieving the things you want to achieve. So this is something that's actually more in your mind and more about planning and prioritization rather than wanting to be told what to eat or which tablet to take. That's why things never change, because a diet does not force you to look at the things in your life that are creating these barriers to success. A diet just tells you what to eat. And Magda Szubanski is the most public recent case of this. I'm not sure how she's feeling right now, but I bet she isn't blaming Jenny Craig. So dieters tend to blame themselves instead, when it's really just they're not laying the blame in the right place. So one major barrier is self-belief, and constant dieting degrades your self-belief instead of building it. And yet we go on another diet just for another kick in the guts, basically. So the first new step is to be thinking, hang on, what's caused me to be failing in the past? What are the things that trip me up every time? Because there will be those indicators. Is it a holiday? Is it when you became unwell? Is it when you sort of said, right, I'm going to be on my diet, and you busted, the diet didn't work, you didn't make it work. So that caused a blowout and you went back to normal. There's lots of things, and there'll be lots of repetition in your life. So the first step is to start thinking about what has gone wrong in the past so that I can correct that. Not just looking for the new diet. That may be the quick way, but it's certainly not the sustainable way. When we're looking at the path of diets versus non-diets, the easy road is really the diet. The harder road is looking at this new way of setting up new habits, new thoughts, learning more about yourself. That's the harder way, and yet the hard road has so many wonderful learnings and fantastic outcomes in it. So I encourage you to start embracing the whole idea of, I need to learn about myself, not about another diet. Because you know what? This has just got diet thinking written all over it. Going on another diet and expecting it to work is like getting on a merry-go-round and expecting to end up somewhere different from when you started. We have research that states that going on a diet is actually a predictor of future weight gain. So if you're thinking about another diet or the need to lose weight, it's that time of year where people are motivated to change. Don't think about doing things the same way. That is flawed logic. If we think about getting off the merry-go-round and moving somewhere different using some sound logic, then you are definitely going to get a different outcome. Because can I remind you that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and again and actually expecting a different outcome. It is the diet that is flawed, not you. But it is about thinking, hang on, what else should I be doing here? What has been getting in the way? What's worked in the past? What hasn't worked? What are the barriers to me being able to keep these things going? So one of my clients, Christine, this is not the actual photo of Christine, but you know what? She had been on the diet merry-go-round for a long, long time. She was either good or she was bad, and she wanted to ban all her favourite foods, thinking that they were bad for her and that she needed to only eat good stuff. And so what I was able to help her with was to be able to start thinking about a new way to actually go, hang on, if it's going to be sustainable, I can't be good or bad. I can just be making good decisions or learning from other ones. I can just make good plans for my family and enjoy the food that we like, and just be thinking about new ways of cooking and to include favourite foods in there. So she learned to break down and take the emotion out of eating, which took a lot of the stress out of it as well. And so she was managing incredibly well. And what actually happened was that she ended up lower than her pre-baby weight because she just made some sensible changes and really changed her relationship with food and how she was thinking about food. So that was a really excellent outcome for Christine.
Keep doing things the way you always have.
But if you've been
But
on
here's
diet
the journey.
before,
You know, this is what it looks
changing
like.
what you've always done.
It's a
keeping up the
stepwise. We go
motivation
up and we
can
go
be
up.
really overwhelming.
But unfortunately for most
And
people,
remember
you
the
only go
definition
part of the way.
insanity.
So you get
How can you
unhappy
expect a
about your
different
current
result
weight,
continue
how
to
you're
do
feeling
what
about
you've always
yourself.
done?
So you decide to go
So
on a
just
diet.
consider,
And then you
how
go
will
through
trying
that
another
vicious
diet
cycle
work this
of
time
dieting.
when it
You
hasn't
get to the
worked that
rebellion,
long in the past?
and you get angry
So
and
it's
annoyed
okay
and
if I
frustrated,
show
and
you a
then you get
simple
unhappy
way
again.
to make
And
all
so you
this
go
happen
round
for you.
and up and round again. Unhappy, dieting, rebellion, anger, depression, dieting. You know, it's a round and round. There's the merry-go-round again without actually being in the picture. But you'll notice at the other end is some really attractive looking things. Choice, freedom, and control. I mean, wow, how does that follow on from rebellion and anger? But I'm going to be talking to you about how that does work. If you give yourself choice, that creates a freedom. And when you are not blocked in by a strict regime, then you start to think logically and you get control. So that's what the journey looks like. And I would love to take you on that journey. So you wonder what anger has to do with this? You know what it has? It's about the Incredible Hulk, you know, the green man who bursts out of his clothing and gets angry and he gets things done. You know, in a way, diets are the easy way out. They're unpleasant, but they are the devil, you know. You don't have to think differently, so it's safe. But you are taking action, so that feels good. Like you're moving in the right direction. Even though, you know, deep down, it probably won't work for long, but you kind of just hope this time is different from your other attempts. You hope you'll have more willpower and you hope you'll have more motivation or more self-control, even though you haven't actually thought about where that's coming from. So it's interesting, this whole idea of harnessing your anger and moving forward. And I was talking to my client, one of my clients the other day, and I said, okay, how do you feel when something happens or something goes wrong in your business? So she's quite passionate about her business. She'd worked long and hard to put that together. She said, I feel angry. I said, excellent. I said, okay, how do you feel when you mess up on your diet? When you say you're going to do something and it falls in a heap, how do you feel then? She said, oh, I feel depressed and down. It's like, well, you know what? What you need to do is get angry. It is such a more constructive emotion. It's got more energy involved in it so that you go, no, I have had enough of this. I need to move forward. I'm not going to go on that same cycle again. I'm going to take some action and step beyond this. Recognize that diets don't work and moving forward. And it works too outside of business to be saying, okay, how would you feel if someone was doing something wrong to a member of your family? You know, it's about, I get angry. But how do you feel when you're doing something wrong by yourself in dieting? I get depressed. Well, you know what? No. Get angry and move forward. That anger, you can use the energy there to push on and start looking at a different way that's much more likely to give you the chance to move up from that freedom and choice and control. But it's not just about that. We want to actually be saying we need to get angry and get direction. We can't be buzzing around like a blowfly just getting really, really grumpy. It's that get angry and get direction. You've got to get a new direction though and know what you're going to do. So that's where the goal setting comes in. And you know what? If I heard an inward groan from you, this is where diets are easy. You don't have to think. This is where this is a little bit different, and sometimes it could be looked at as the hard road. You have to think about what you're going to do, because that means it's going to be a whole lot more specific to you, and therefore it's got a much, much better chance of working. You're following a diet, you don't have to think. Setting a goal, you do have to think. So this is where some of the work comes in. But I don't know, have you ever shied away from hard work before? Have you raised a family and, you know, start halfway through gone, this is too hard? You know, I think people have the persistence there within them, and this is what it's going to take to push through. So you want to get angry, but you also want to get a direction. You can't be angry and directionless, because that's pretty purposeless, pointless. You won't go anywhere constructive. So you get angry, get that energy, and you start setting goals and telling yourself what you need to be doing. That way you can't pretend you don't know what to do. And I think, we sort of do pretend that, but I think healthy eating in essence is meat and veg and whole grains. It's not low-fat dairy or any dairy. It's not hard. People don't, let's complicate it. You know what to eat. It is just about starting to set some goals. Set some goals for your food, set some goals for your exercise, set some goals for your planning. But it is about goal setting because that's going to give you the direction. So this is a really interesting model because it's about the key to motivation. People say, what is the key to motivation? How do I get motivated? I just always, start strong and then just fall off. And that's pretty normal. But if you've got something really big that you can relate to and that's incredibly important to you, then that is where the motivation comes from. You suddenly feel compelled to actually be doing some good decision making. You feel compelled to follow your goals that you've set. So we look at this model here and it talks about the what, the how and the why. I know that it's upside down, but we're going to start at the bottom, the what. This is a model put together by Simon Sinek, and he has a great little video on YouTube if you want to have a look at it. But this is basically what it says. We focus on the what. All the time when we're looking and thinking about weight loss, we go what? What do we want? I want to be thinner. I want to be lighter. I want more confidence. I want to be fitter. It's just we want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I've got to lose weight. This is the what. But this tends to be where we stop. Sometimes we get into the how and we go, well, okay, I'll exercise more and I'll go on this diet. So we sort of look at the how, but we focus on the what a lot more. It tends to be the what of weight loss that really gets the big part of the attention, because people might choose diets for how, but that's kind of almost to me falls into the what. It's not really a constructive use of the how, because the how is about goal setting. How are we going to achieve what we want, which is weight loss? But the biggest thing is the why. Why do you want to lose weight? What are you actually going to do when you lose weight? You need to be thinking about the why, because this is where the motivation comes from. And it can't really be health. A lot of people say, I'm going to get healthy. But that's not really a motivator. It's, unless you're dying, if you change your diet or die, it is not a big motivator. It is certainly a benefit of weight loss. It's certainly a benefit of getting fitter, but it's not a good reason why. So if I can give you a couple of examples of why people have told me they want to lose weight in the past, and they don't have to be really big reasons. They're just kind of personal and meaningful reasons. So one lady was saying, I really want to travel, but I don't want to be the person at the back of the tour group. I don't want to be that person who's holding everybody else up. That's okay. It's a great pride-based reason. I think pride is an excellent motivator. Another lady said, you know what, I love my mum and I know I've got the tendency to have her body shape. I love her, but I don't want to end up looking like her. These goals are sometimes things that we wouldn't really want to tell other people, and she was a bit embarrassed at the time, but it's a great why. It's something that you just feel very strongly about. And you can use a little bit of emotional blackmail, and that's always good. Let's use all these supposedly negative emotions and turn them into something good, because you can do it for your kids or your grandchildren. One of the ladies said, when I gave birth to my child, I made a promise that I would be the best parent I could be. And she soon realized when she wouldn't get in the pool to give the boy swimming lessons that she was starting to break her own promise to her son. So again, it can be using those emotional blackmail reasons, but that's kind of a constructive use of stuff we feel. So let's use that. So pride is a really strong motivator. So I would really encourage you to be thinking about why you want to lose weight. What is it going to be? What's it going to mean for you? What is the life that you will have if you can get your weight off, but more importantly, if you can start to get a sense of choice and freedom and control. When you are feeling all those things, what would you like your life to be? That is the big question. Why? And I guess, just as a little aside, I know that fear comes into that. It's like, wow, that sounds like a really big deal. I'm not sure I can cope with that. But don't let your fear stop you. Let's work on your whys and go and fulfill your dreams, because I don't want weight to hold you back on that. So certainly that is something that really needs to get a whole lot of work from you about why you want to do this, because it is a great motivator. So in my book, I call it our reason. So you have to have a reason for wanting to put yourself in an uncomfortable position, for not eating the foods you like or whenever you feel like them, for exercising when you'd rather sit on the couch. You need to isolate your reason in order to have this ongoing source of motivation. So I would encourage you to think deeply about your why, and even if you're having a conversation with a friend that you trust about why I'm doing this, and the question that you keep asking them is why. So they'll give you an answer and you say why. So think hard about why you want to lose weight, because that's where the motivation comes from. This is Liz Livick, and Liz coined this phrase, which I love. So after working with Liz for a while, she said, I now understand I am doing it for myself, not to myself. So Liz really got it, and she understood that this is not a punishment that she's inflicting on herself, the idea of healthy eating and planning and exercise. She actually felt great for it. And so it comes to understand, hang on, I'm doing it for myself. And when you get to that state, then you really do get to have the choice and the freedom and the control, because it's, you've tied in your motivations, you know why you're doing it, and you've turned it all around. You've flipped it on its head. I am doing this for myself. It's not a punishment at all. So that was a really beautiful place for Liz to come to and be able to go forward to maintaining the changes that she'd made. So any diet, any plan for healthy eating and permanent weight loss must come with a way for you to change your unhelpful habits, your unhelpful thoughts, and your excuses. So a diet actually only works because you're reducing your calories. I mean, that's what weight loss is. So, any rigid regime or, provided that you're eating well, is going to lose weight. People go, oh, I quit sugar and I lost weight. Well, of course, if you take out all the high calorie, high fat, high sugary foods, you're going to lose weight. So that's not actually too hard to fathom, too hard to work out. If you stop eating the things that you're not supposed to be, i.e. a diet, then that's going to lose your weight. But it's only a really short-term solution. And so I guess the problem starts when you start to move away from that strict regime. And it doesn't happen because you're weak-willed. It happens because the plans aren't meant to be kept up for a lifetime. These diets are short-term and they don't address your habits. So you stop the diet and you go back to normal. So any plan for successful long-term weight control has to look at your emotional eating issues. It has to bring attention to any overeating and large portion sizes and help you to develop strategies around these things, to help you recognize the triggers for these things and to build some plans around it so that it's not just putting you on a restricted eating plan for a short period. It is encouraging you to develop strategies to change all these things, to set a different path and a different plan in motion before you get into trouble. And so again, we'll come back to the very first thing I said about the new way is understanding and identifying the things that are getting in the way. Understanding that you do have unhelpful thoughts, that there is emotional and stress eating, and how to get around that. And I guess one big way to do that is to start with is recognizing that nobody's perfect and everyone will have little slip-ups. But the plan that you choose needs to show you this, and it needs to make sure that there are strategies to overcome this emotional eating. Otherwise, it's just another diet. Because basically, the key to success is maintenance. And a lot of diet programs actually have what they call a maintenance part of their weight plan, but it actually only concerns food. And I hope you're starting to become aware of the fact that food is really just a symptom. You actually need to change the underlying cause of your overeating and learn to create a sustainable long-term plan which considers how you'll manage social situations, how you'll pick up again after you mess up, what's realistic in relation to the outcomes you can expect, and how to love food again without guilt. So, not many maintenance plans take into consideration any of that, when in actual fact, those are the things that get in the way of you creating anything sustainable. So it turns on its head everything you know about dieting and weight loss, because it's all connected with diet and what you can't have. So that is not a sustainable position. Maintenance of weight loss is associated with the words freedom, choice, and control. That's weight maintenance. Deprivation, guilt, and dissatisfaction. Those are words related to a short-term diet. There is no way you can keep those things up in the long term. So here's Rachel. She actually sent me a before and after photo, and I had some excellent success, and she has maintained this weight loss for about 3 years. And I said, Rach, how did you do it? She said, Lisa, I read your book. So she bought my book and she just went off and put the plans into place, changed her unhelpful habits, put plans in place and followed them through. And she made some sensible changes to how she was doing things. And now she has a great relationship with food, whereas before it was quite unhealthy. She recognises the importance of regular exercise and she's just doing it. Freedom and choice equals control. And here it is personified. So we're talking about getting the health and the body you desire. So when you leave this webinar, you've got a couple of choices. You can start to rethink your weight loss strategy or keep doing things the way you always have. But if you've been on diets before, you know changing what you've always done and keeping up the motivation can be really overwhelming. And remember the definition of insanity. How can you expect a different result if you continue to do what you've always done? So just consider, how will trying another diet work this time when it hasn't worked for that long in the past? So is it okay if I show you a simpler way to make all this happen for you? So this is my ultimate weight control solution. And what you will get is that you will receive step-by-step instruction on how to implement this strategy right now. So to be changing things and focusing on your, honing in on your motivation at this point in time. And the great thing with this ultimate weight control solution is that you'll be able to tell me the benefit sooner and live the life that you have always wanted. So here's what it is. It's actually an online package with 7 modules. So the first module, it talks about how to choose your foods and plan your meals without counting calories. So I've worked out a tool, so we've done the hard calorie counting for you. But it's about you creating the meal plan with some regard to calories, but it's not being the be-all and end-all. So this is a module which outlines how to choose food well, knowing that the choices and the serve sizes that you're choosing are going to fit in with a calorie controlled program, but without you actually following a strict diet. Module 2 is identifying your roadblocks. These are the things that you start to create some awareness around, hang on, what have I been doing that's been messing myself up in the past? So I know the diet history is there, but what are the things that I mess up? How have I been planning in the past? Have I been planning in the past? What are my emotional triggers? So what are the problems that get in your way? Module 3 is planning for success. So that's about goal setting. How do you set a goal? What is a realistic expectation for weight loss? Because I think sometimes that is truly blown way out of proportion by all the things we see in the media. So how do you plan for success? Because there is goals that you set which are truly unattainable.
So you need to be planning for success, not planning for another failure. So that's outlined in Module 3. Module 4 is finding your reason and getting motivated. So we work a lot more on that, what I was talking about before, the why you want to do this, finding your reason. Because once you've got that, then motivation is intrinsic. You are compelled to make the right decisions and to follow your plans. So we'll work some more on that, finding your reason. In Module 5, we're talking about portion sizes and decreasing your portion size if that is your issue without hunger. Because I think sometimes we serve a little bit more than we need just in case. So it's giving you a strategy as to how you can do that. And certainly one of my clients recently put that into practice and said, you know what? Ever since I've seen you and followed this practice, I've not had any indigestion and I've lost weight. So there were some win-wins there, but of course he also was satisfied. Module 6, get motivation and accountability. You know, we've got the motivation in our why, and then we've got to tie that in, and how do we become accountable for this? How do we make sure that we keep this going? So it's not that I'm going to just tell you what to do, because that's not going to happen, but you're going to know what you're going to eat, you're going to have some successful goals in place, and then we want to know, how are we going to keep that going? How can I be accountable to this? How can I become responsible for this so that it stays as a long-term viable plan? So that's Module 6. And Module 7, we're looking at relapse prevention, because honestly, we all mess up. As I said earlier, nobody's perfect. So it's definitely about looking at, what do I do when I do mess up? It's not if, it's when. And that's a really important strategy that is certainly missing from most diet plans, and certainly from every diet. So that's the 7 modules. It's an online package. The total value is $2,079. But I'm not going to leave you on your own, because basically sometimes you're going to need to touch base. It's a bit tricky wading through your mind on your own sometimes. So you get a one-on-one Skype session, so that helps you to guide you through how to use this ultimate weight control solution. So if you're having any problems, you can take advantage of the fact of our one-on-one Skype session. And you also get 3 months email access to me with any questions that you might have. So that's actually valued at $450. There's a couple of bonuses. You get a copy of my book, that's Body Warfare, The Secret to Permanent Weight Loss. And that really rounds out the information that you will get in the online modules, and gives you a workbook to work through to be looking at, okay, how can I put this into place? How can I get a bit more information on that? And the book will be there to outline all that. And remember, that's how Rachel lost her weight on its own. That's valued at $25. Then there's also an audio CD. The STAR strategy is the strategy outlined in my book. It's about increasing motivation. So that's a CD of a presentation that is going to really help you put it into place and get some clarity around the whole idea of why you're doing this. That's valued at $97. And then there's also the DVD of the Weight Control series, which goes through the importance of breakfast, how to manage the supermarket, because sometimes that's pretty hellish for people. It's also about the importance of meal planning. So there goes through 6 different series in this whole idea of weight control, and that's valued at $67. So basically, in summary, you get the 7 webinars, the Skype session, and 3 months unlimited email access to me. Plus, you also get the book, the CD, and the DVD. So wrapping that all up, the total value is $2,718. But that's not what you'll pay. Basically, you get that much value, $2,718 value. But for today only, we're looking at $297. So if you go to www.ultimateweightcontrolsolution.com, basically what's there is a PayPal that you just simply put your money in, and then you start receiving the goods. So it comes with a 30-day risk-free trial. So there is no risk. Basically, if you're not happy, if you have put these things into place and you've had your Skype call and it's still not working for you, then I'll give you your money back. but it is about a new way of doing things. So it's going to feel a bit weird. It's not going to be a diet. So don't expect that. So if you are ready for a new way which is risk-free, then, you know, this is the thing to do. So can you do this another way? You know, of course you can. There's heaps of other choices out there to lose weight. You may have even tried a lot of them. But the thing is, if you're looking for another diet, then this isn't it. What this system is about creating something sustainable and teaching you how to change your habits and motivate yourself for the long term. It's not just about weight loss, it's about long-term change. So it's probably a bit scarier than a diet because you need to do some work, not just follow someone else's plan. But if you are ready for that, then $297 for one time here, www.ultimateweightcontrolsolution.com. And I really am looking forward to working with you and showing you this new way of doing things. Thank you for listening, and I'm really looking forward to working with you.